The hospital corridor was quiet, except for the occasional beeping of monitors and the soft shuffle of nurses' footsteps. But that peace shattered the moment she walked in. Victoria, a woman with a sharp gaze and confidence that demanded attention. She wasn't here for a friendly visit. She had an agenda, and it was about to ignite chaos. Across from her stood Emily, visibly pregnant, clutching her growing belly, a mix of excitement and fear in her eyes. She didn't know it yet, but today would change everything. The tension in the air was palpable as Victoria marched toward Emily without hesitation. Her eyes locked onto her target. And then, in a move that shocked everyone nearby, she grabbed a handful of Emily's hair. The force of the gesture made Emily gasp in pain, crying out as she instinctively tried to pull away. But Victoria's grip was firm, unrelenting, fueled by years of jealousy and resentment. The corridor erupted into chaos, and in the background, the hospital staff froze, unsure how to intervene. The pregnant woman's partner, Michael, stood nearby, initially stunned, unable to comprehend the audacity of the attack. He took a step forward, anger and protectiveness warring on his face. But before he could act, Victoria's words cut through the air like a knife, a venomous mix of rage and accusation. "How dare you take everything from me?" she screamed. "You think you can just replace me?" Emily, in pain but refusing to back down, tried to steady herself, her hand instinctively protecting her belly. Every second felt like an eternity, and the tension could be sliced with a knife. And then, just when it seemed the confrontation couldn't escalate any further, a figure entered the scene, an older man, calm yet commanding, whose presence immediately changed the dynamic. His eyes, steady and piercing, scanned the chaos, instantly assessing the situation. He approached slowly, his hands raised in a gesture meant to diffuse, yet carrying an authority that made even Victoria hesitate. The pregnant woman didn't know who he was at first, but a flicker of recognition passed over his face toward her, a subtle hint that their connection ran deeper than she could ever imagine. The hospital seemed to hold its breath as the moment stretched, each second heavy with anticipation. Victoria, realizing that the arrival of this man might undermine her dominance, tried to tighten her grip, but Michael finally reacted, stepping in, pulling Emily gently away, shielding her from further harm. The two women exchanged fierce glares, the air charged with unspoken history and bitter rivalry, a story neither the staff nor the bystanders could fully understand yet. As the tension simmered, the older man finally spoke, his voice calm but powerful, cutting through the hysteria. "Enough," he said, and just like that the room's energy shifted. Victoria froze, confusion flashing across her face. No one had expected him to assert such authority so effortlessly. He approached Emily cautiously, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now," he said softly. And it was then, in that moment, that Emily's mind started racing. Memories and fragments of conversations she had long forgotten slowly piecing together. Something about him felt familiar, something that tugged at the deepest corners of her heart. Could it be possible? Could this man, standing here calmly while her world seemed to fall apart, be the person who mattered most in her life? Questions swirled in her mind, mixing with the adrenaline and fear from the attack. Meanwhile, Victoria, still fuming but suddenly cautious, took a step back. The power she had wielded moments ago seemed to evaporate under the older man's gaze. She tried to find the right words, her voice trembling between rage and desperation, but nothing came out. It was clear that her attempt to dominate, to humiliate, and to assert her place in a life that wasn't hers was failing spectacularly. Michael, watching the scene unfold, realized that the conflict was far more complex than a simple act of aggression. There were family secrets, tangled histories, and emotions that ran deeper than he could ever have imagined. And Emily, still clutching her belly, felt a strange mix of relief and confusion. The attack had ended, but it left behind a ripple that would change everything. Then came the revelation, subtle but powerful. The older man knelt slightly to meet Emily's gaze, a gentle smile breaking through his otherwise stern demeanor. "Emily," he said, and that single word hit her like a lightning bolt. Memories she had buried, questions she had avoided for years, and a yearning for answers she hadn't realized she had, all surfaced at once. Her mind raced as the pieces clicked together, The resemblance, the warmth, the feeling of protection she had sensed somewhere deep inside. Could it really be him? Could this stranger, who had so effortlessly taken control of the chaos, actually be her father? Her heart pounded, a mix of joy, fear, and disbelief coursing through her. Victoria, watching this silent exchange, grew pale. She realized she had walked into a situation far beyond her understanding. She wasn't just confronting a pregnant woman. She was stepping into a web of family secrets, love and reconciliation she could never manipulate. The hospital corridor, once a scene of aggression and fear, now felt like a turning point. A pivotal moment where lives intersected in ways no one could have predicted. Emily's hands shook, both from the lingering pain of the attack and the overwhelming emotion she felt seeing her father for the first time. Michael, sensing the depth of the moment, stood quietly beside her, offering silent support, realizing that some battles were not physical but emotional, ones that required understanding, patience, and love. Victoria, still seething but now aware of her limitations, slowly backed away, realizing the fight she wanted was no longer relevant. She had aimed to hurt, to assert control. But what she found instead was truth, revelation, and an unbreakable bond she could never claim. As the scene settled, the hospital staff began moving again, whispers of awe and curiosity spreading among them. They had witnessed more than a confrontation. They had seen the power of revelation, the strength of family bonds, and the quiet courage of a woman who endured an attack while discovering a profound truth about her life. Emily, with a mix of tears and relief, turned to her father, finally finding the answers she had unknowingly sought for years. The older man embraced her gently, and in that embrace Emily felt the unspoken promise of protection, love, and guidance. It was a moment that would forever mark the beginning of healing, reconciliation, and a bond that not even the fiercest adversary could break. And as for Victoria, she walked away defeated not by physical strength but by the unshakable power of truth. She had tried to manipulate, to attack, and to assert dominance, but she underestimated the invisible forces of family, loyalty, and discovery. In the end, her actions only highlighted the courage and resilience of those who stood in her way. And the story of that hospital confrontation would be remembered not for the violence, but for the life-changing revelation that followed. This story, though it started with anger and fear, ended with understanding and the rediscovery of what truly matters: family, truth, and the undeniable bonds that shape our lives. And as viewers, you can see that in life, the most unexpected moments often carry the greatest revelations. If you've ever felt caught in a storm of confusion, betrayal, or anger, remember that clarity and truth have a way of finding you, just like it did for Emily in that hospital corridor. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that show courage, resilience, and moments that redefine lives forever. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a journey that's as thrilling, emotional, and unforgettable as this one.